I'm Kenny, a 35-year-old investment banker living in Chicago. This is the story of what happened to me in the summer of 2017 about my wife cheating on me. Sharing this story in hopes of giving some insight to my friends who are going through similar experiences, and to show these friends that you are not alone, here is how this story begins. On that day, the summer sun shone in every corner of the city, and the hot temperature was a bit suffocating. I ended my busy work schedule early and wanted to give my wife an unexpected surprise. The ride home was filled with anticipation as I imagined Anne's joyful face when she saw me home early. Our marriage used to be so beautiful and enviable. However, I didn't expect that this home was no longer the cozy harbor I remembered. When I gently opened the door to my home, the laughter I was expecting did not appear. Instead, I heard a strange sound coming from the bedroom. Puzzled, I walked towards the bedroom, only to find the door hidden. I pushed the door open, and the sight in front of me froze me instantly, and was entangled with a man, and their behavior was certainly a deep betrayal of me. And that man, it turned out, was Jim. Anger and disappointment flooded through me, and I couldn't control my emotions. I rushed forward and yanked Jim from the bed, glaring at him angrily before pushing him out the door with all my might. "How could you do this to me?" I roared at Anne, my voice shaking with rage, and looked at me in horror, her eyes full of guilt and fear. She tried to explain, but I could no longer hear any explanation. All I knew was that my wife, whom I loved so much, was with another man while I was working hard for this family. Jim took the opportunity to slink away, leaving Anne and I standing face to face in that messy bedroom. I looked at her with a mixture of disappointment and anger. I couldn't understand why she would do such a thing. "Kenny, and tries to speak, but her voice is cut off by my anger. "Don't say it," I said coldly. "Your betrayal has hurt me deeply. I don't know how to face you or this family." I turned and left that room of betrayal with a heart full of pain and disappointment. What I once thought was a good marriage had collapsed in an instant. I didn't know how to face this harsh reality, nor did I know how to salvage my already broken marriage. I walked aimlessly through the streets of Chicago, the summer heat making me feel even more irritable and restless. I didn't know where I was supposed to go or what I was supposed to do. All I knew was that my heart had been deeply hurt. Time seemed to become slow and heavy, and every moment made me feel endless pain. I remembered the good times we used to spend together, and those cozy images became so harsh and ironic at the moment. After the day I discovered the betrayal, the atmosphere in the house became heavy and cold. Anne's cries and apologies seemed to echo in my ears, but I could no longer face her. My heart was filled with anger and disappointment, and the last vestiges of trust in the marriage vanished. I stayed up all night that night, replaying the unbearable scene in my mind. The decision to divorce wasn't just because of Anne's betrayal, it was because I couldn't face this marriage full of lies anymore. Early the next morning, I contacted the law firm to schedule a consultation. As I stepped into the bright, spacious office, my mind was filled with determination. I needed professional legal advice to end a marriage that was already in name only. In the course of the consultation, I explained the situation to the lawyer in detail. The lawyer's expression grew serious as he explained in detail the procedures of divorce and the problems that might be encountered. I listened attentively, my heart filled with determination. Just as the counseling was about to end, a figure walked into the office. I looked up and saw Carly, a beautiful and determined woman who looked a little haggard, but whose eyes revealed determination and courage. Carly was also here for divorce counseling. When she learned of my situation, she initiated a conversation with me. During the conversation, I learned that she had suffered similar betrayal and hurt. This similar experience resonated with us, and we began to confide in and comfort each other. In that moment, I felt a wonderful connection. Although both of our marriages had suffered misfortunes, neither of us gave up our right to find happiness. We began to face this painful experience together, supporting and encouraging each other. Over time, my relationship with Carly has warmed up. Not only did we share each other's stories and journeys, but we also spent a lot of quality time together. In the process, I felt a warmth and joy that I hadn't felt in a long time. Of course, the divorce process did not go smoothly. Anne's retention division of property, child custody. All these issues put us in a difficult situation. But whenever I felt tired and frustrated, Carly always gave me endless encouragement and support. Once, in the hallway of a law office, I ran into a crying Carly who had obviously just been through a heated argument. I gently walked over to her and handed her a tissue. She looked up at me, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Thank you," she said softly. "Sometimes I really feel so tired." "I understand how you feel," I responded gently, "but remember you're not alone in this fight. I will always be by your side." At that moment, our eyes met and our hearts resonated with each other. We held each other's hands tightly as if to tell each other that no matter how difficult the future is, we will work together to face it together. As time went on, we grew closer. Not only did we spend a lot of quality time together, but we also faced the challenges of divorce together. Throughout this process, I came to realize that Carly's unique charisma and strength of character made her an integral part of my life. Since that fateful day, my relationship with and has completely broken down, and the determination to divorce has stuck like a nail in my heart. During that time, it was like I was walking in the dark, feeling my way through every step. However, it was at that low point in my life that I met Carly at the law firm. She was a 30-year-old IT consultant, smart, perceptive, and with a determined gleam in her eye. She was dealing with a similar divorce, and that shared pain resonated with us. We didn't say much, but from each other's eyes, we could read each other's bitterness and helplessness. As the divorce process is winding down, I'm getting back into the swing of things. I was a senior manager in an investment bank with a busy and fulfilling job. That day, I was busy analyzing an investment report when I suddenly received an internal communication from the company asking me to attend a cross-departmental collaboration meeting. Inside the conference room, the elites from all departments were gathered. I scanned the room, and my eyes suddenly settled on a familiar figure. It was Carly, who was dressed in professional attire, with her hair cleanly combed behind her head, looking competent and confident. She also saw me and smiled slightly as a greeting. The meeting started with an in-depth discussion on a technology project that we were about to invest in, and Carly, as an IT consultant, had a deep understanding of the technical aspects of the project. She analyzed the market prospects, competitive advantages, and potential risks of the technology in detail. I couldn't help but be impressed as I listened to her presentation. During the discussion session, I took the initiative to share my views with Carly. We found that our views coincided with each other, and we were both very enthusiastic about the project. We were pleasantly surprised by the understanding and resonance, as if we had found our soulmates. After the meeting, we walked out of the conference room together. I invited her to join me for a cup of coffee, and she readily agreed. In the cafe, we chatted about our respective work and life. I realized that, apart from the experience of divorce, we had a lot in common: the pursuit of our careers, our vision for the future, and our love of life. During that time, we often ate and drank coffee together, and even worked late into the night together. After work, we would also chat about the trivial things in our lives and changes in our moods. I gradually realized that Carly was not only smart and capable, but also very understanding. She always gives me timely care and advice when I am tired or confused. Once we went for a walk together along the shores of Lake Michigan. The lake breeze ruffled our faces, and the setting sun's rays sparkled on the water. We walked side by side, talking about our plans for the future and our feelings about life. At that moment, I felt more relaxed and happy than ever, as if all my worries had been thrown away. As time went on, our relationship grew closer. I began to realize that my feelings for her had gone beyond that of an ordinary friend. I fell in love with this strong, independent, and gentle woman. But I was also aware that I was recently divorced and needed time to sort out my thoughts and emotions. And Carly seemed to sense the change in my feelings for her. She didn't respond directly to my feelings, but her eyes and smile gave me hope. I knew that we needed time to slowly cultivate this relationship so that it would become deeper and stronger in the baptism of time. Ever since Carly and I met and formed that special friendship, there seemed to be a glimmer of light in my life. In those days, we often met for dinner, whether it was in a bustling restaurant or at home with my own cooking, and each time we met I felt more relaxed and happy than ever. We chatted about everything, from work to life, and she always appeared in time to give me the most sincere comfort when I was feeling down. However, despite the fact that we were getting closer, the deep-seated resentment within me never dissipated. Whenever it was late at night and I was alone in bed, those betrayals and hurts about and in Jim became extraordinarily clear, making it difficult for me to sleep. One night, we met in a stylish bar. With the dim lighting, melodious music, and a few strong drinks in my belly, I finally mustered up the courage to confide in Carly about that painful experience. I told her that whenever I thought of that scene between and in Jim in the bedroom, my heart felt like it was being stabbed over and over again by sharp knives. The feeling of betrayal and deception was so painful that I couldn't let it go. As Carly listened, a flash of shock and anger flashed through her eyes. She gripped my hand tightly and said in a shaky voice, "Kenny, you can't just let them get away with this. You have to stand up and make them pay for what they did." Her words were like a warm current that warmed my cold heart. It turned out that in this world, there were people who silently supported me and cared about me. At that moment, I looked into Carly's determined eyes, and the anger in my heart was once again ignited. Yes, I can't just give in to fate. I want those who betrayed me to know that there is a price for their behavior. So, we decided to join forces to start a well-planned revenge plan. Since deciding on revenge, Carly and I have been preparing in earnest. Not only do we want to expose and end Jim's betrayal, but we want to make sure our plan is foolproof. And all of this required us to set up an elaborate trap. After years of crawling around in the financial world, I have accumulated quite a few connections and resources. This time, I used these connections and started to secretly investigate and in Jim's whereabouts. I knew that in order to have a rendezvous, they would definitely choose a place they thought was safe and hidden. What I have to do is to find this safe house and give it a big renovation. Carly, being an IT whiz, naturally took on the heavy lifting on the technical side. She not only hacked into the hotel surveillance system, but also assisted me in installing hidden cameras. All this was done to collect solid evidence of their infidelity, so that we would have enough backing when we revealed the truth. Finally, we locked in on the hotel that Ann and Jim frequented. It was an upscale hotel in the center of the city, known for its prime location and luxurious facilities. I guess they chose this place for that thrill of excitement and luxury at the same time. We chose a weekend, and when Ann and Jim stepped into the hotel again, they would never have guessed that they had us watching their every move. The process of installing the cameras was not easy. We needed to make sure that the camera was positioned in a way that would capture their intimate gestures, but not be easily detected. With Carly's guidance, we eventually found a great spot in a corner of the room. That night, we were nervously and excitedly in front of the computer, waiting for the camera feed. When Ann and Jim appeared on the screen, we looked at each other and smiled, knowing that the fish had been hooked. We saw them hugging and kissing intimately in the room, and even engaging in more outlandish behavior. Every move they made was clearly recorded by the camera and became hard evidence in our hands. Looking at these sickening images, anger burned in my heart. But I also know that now is not the time to get angry. What we need to do is to calmly collect evidence and wait for the time to be right before giving them a fatal blow. After gathering enough evidence, we began to formulate our next step. We want to maximize the impact of this evidence and bring Ann and Jim's scandalous behavior to light once and for all. Carly and I had a long discussion and finally decided to expose their true colors at the company party. We want everyone to know about their ugly behavior and make them ashamed of themselves in the company. In order to ensure the authenticity and credibility of the evidence, we decided to edit and process the video with a detailed timeline and explanatory text. We want everyone to be able to clearly understand what happened and not be fooled by their lies. On the eve of the party, Carly and I went through all the equipment and evidence again. We wanted to make sure everything was under control and that there was no room for error. Carly and I arrived early for the company party that day. The venue was brilliantly decorated, and our co-workers were gathered in twos and threes, talking and laughing. As I watched, I couldn't help but feel a sneer in my heart. Tonight is the moment when Ann and Jim lose face. We found a corner and sat down, quietly waiting for the moment to come. Carly held my hand nervously, and I knew she was giving me strength. I gave her a grateful look, my mind even more determined to make plans for tonight. Finally, and Jim walked into the venue arm in arm. They were all smiles, as if they were the happiest couple in the world. I looked at them with anger burning in my heart. However, I knew I couldn't be impulsive now. I wanted everyone to know their true colors. Halfway through the party, Carly and I looked at each other and nodded. She pulled out her cell phone and connected it to the big screen. The light in the venue suddenly dimmed and all eyes focused on the screen. The video began to play, showing Ann and Jim acting intimately in their hotel room. The sound of their laughter and conversation came through clearly. I saw their expressions go from surprise to panic to helplessness, and the coworkers in the room began to whisper and talk. Anne's face turned pale as she clutched Jim's hand as if trying to find a shred of comfort from him. Jim, on the other hand, kept his head down, not daring to look at me. I knew that they must be itching to find a crack in the ground at this moment. After the video was played, the venue fell into a brief silence. Then, thunderous applause and cheers erupted. My coworkers threw me approving glances, as if applauding my victory. And I stood there, my heart filled with the thrill of revenge. I looked at Ann and Jim, and there was anger and shame in their eyes. I knew that they hated me for bringing their scandal to light. But I didn't care. I just wanted everyone to know their true colors and make them pay for their betrayal. After the party, Carly and I walked out of the venue. The evening breeze gently brushed our faces, taking away the anger and hatred from our hearts. We smiled at each other as if we were celebrating tonight's victory. A few days later, the results of the company's handling also came down. Ann and Jim were transferred out of their original positions, and their careers were seriously affected. I, on the other hand, got a commendation from the company for exposing their scandal. But that's not what I really cared about. I just want everyone to know their true colors and make them pay for their betrayal. And Carly and I grew closer as a result of this shared experience. We started seeing each other more frequently and spent a lot of quality time together. I know that while this revenge program took a lot out of me, it also took a lot out of me. I gained Carly's friendship and love, as well as inner peace and fulfillment. In retrospect, that revenge plan may have been a bit too impulsive and extreme. However, I don't regret it, because I know that some things must be done. And that revenge plan also made me understand the complexity and cruelty of human nature more deeply. But no matter what, I will never let those who betrayed and hurt me have a good time again. Ever since that party, Jim and Ann have been like street rats. I thought they would just lay low and disappear from my life, but I didn't realize that Jim was even trying to fight back through legal means. I was so angry and amused. Did he even think he was justified? However, Carly and I were prepared. We enlisted the services of Sally, one of Chicago's most renowned divorce attorneys, a savvy and capable woman with a wealth of legal experience and a keen eye for detail. As soon as she stepped in, I knew Jim was sure to lose this time. In court, Jim's lawyers rattled off their reasoning, trying to put the blame on me. They said that I had caused Ann's relationship with Jim because I had neglected her because of my busy schedule. I couldn't help but sneer as I listened to these ridiculous accusations. It was finally Sally's turn to speak. She stood up calmly and refuted the other side's points one by one in a powerful voice. She took out the evidence we had collected, including Ann and Jim's communication records, video recordings from the hotel's cameras, and so on, to prove their infidelity. She also pointed out Jim's misconduct at work, such as using his position to embezzle company property. This evidence left Jim and his attorney speechless. Finally, the judge announced that we had won the case. Carly and I hugged excitedly and thanked Sally for her help. We had finally won the legal battle and gotten justice for ourselves. In the subsequent negotiations of the divorce settlement, Sally once again utilized her superior negotiation skills. She successfully secured a favorable divorce settlement for us, enabling me to retain most of my property and rights. Ann and Jim, on the other hand, paid the price they deserved for their unfaithful behavior. This legal battle made me deeply realize the power of the law and the importance of justice. Without Sally's help, I might not have been able to win this lawsuit and get justice for myself. I thank her from the bottom of my heart for everything she has done for us. At the same time, this lawsuit has made me appreciate my life and the people around me even more. Carly has always been by my side, giving me endless support and encouragement. She makes me feel warm and happy and makes me realize the true love and friendship. Her presence makes me feel warm and happy and makes me realize what true love and friendship are. Shortly after our divorce, Carly and I decided to take our relationship even further. We began to plan for the future, hoping to create a better life together. And the legal battle became an unforgettable experience in our lives, making us appreciate each other's presence and each day ahead even more. Looking back now, that time was full of pain and struggle, but it also gave me growth and courage. I am thankful that I met such good friends and helpers as Carly and Sally, and I am also thankful that that experience made me understand my own heart and needs better. I know there is still a long and difficult road ahead, but as long as I have Carly by my side, I believe we will be able to overcome all the difficulties and move towards a better future. As for Ann and Jim, they have faded out of my life circle. I don't want to have anything to do with them anymore, nor do I want to reminisce about that painful past. I just want to cherish the present and the future life and Carly together hand in hand to face the future challenges and opportunities together. And that legal battle has become an episode in my life that makes me more determined to move forward to the future path of life. Since Carly and I had gone through that legal battle together, our relationship seemed to have gone further. Maybe it's because we've been through so many storms together, or maybe it's because we find comfort in each other's company, and I'm beginning to realize that the way I feel about Carly goes beyond the boundaries of just being friends. During that time, we ate together a lot, watched movies, and even went on a few short trips together. It was a hot summer in Chicago, but the time spent with her was always so cool and enjoyable. We tried all sorts of new restaurants, saw all sorts of art exhibits around the city, and went to the shores of Lake Michigan to enjoy the sunsets. One weekend, we decided to take a walk around Chicago's famous building, the Willis Tower. It was an exceptionally sunny day, and the wind was just right. We stood on the observation deck overlooking the entire Chicago cityscape, and she gently took my hand and pointed to the complex in the distance, telling me that's where she worked. "You know, Kenny," she said suddenly, "I never thought before that I'd find a piece of me in a big city like this." I glanced back at her and realized that her eyes were sparkling with longing for the future. At that moment, I suddenly had an urge to tell her that I was willing to walk with her through every future. As time went on, our relationship grew closer. I began to look forward to every meeting with her, every time I spent time with her. I knew that this was more than friendship, this was my deep fondness for her. Once, we were walking down a lighted street after a concert. I suddenly stopped, looked at her, and said fondly, "Carly, I don't know when you became so important to me. I think I may have fallen in love with you." She froze for a moment, then smiled softly. At that moment, I knew that our relationship had risen to another level. Since then, we've gotten even closer. We planned our future together and discussed every bit of our lives together. Whenever it's late at night, I think of her and all the good times we spent together. I knew that I had fallen deeply in love with her, and she was equally deeply in love with me. This intimacy, this heart-to-heart exchange, made me feel happier and more satisfied than ever. I also started working harder because I knew that I wanted to give her a bright future, and she was always by my side to support me and encourage me. We relied on each other and supported each other through those difficult times. During that time, we traveled to many places together and saw many beautiful sights. Every trip made our relationship deeper. I remember once we went to a bistro, listened to jazz music, drank cocktails, and talked about each other's dreams and future. At that moment, I felt incredibly happy and satisfied. I knew that I had found my true love and the person I wanted to protect, and she has likewise found her dependence and happiness. Our relationship grew deeper and deeper over time, and we cherished each other more and more. Whenever I think of that time, I feel immensely happy and satisfied. I know that those are our common memories and the testimony of our relationship. And those memories and experiences make us cherish each other's existence and every day in the future even more. Looking back on it now, it really was our best time. We weathered the storms together, grew, and progressed together. And the budding and development of that relationship made us even more convinced of each other's choices and future direction. I know that no matter what happens in the future, we will face it hand in hand because we believe in the power of love to overcome all difficulties. And it all started from that summer, from the budding of emotions. Lake Michigan looked especially serene that day, and the golden sunlight poured over the lake like a thin layer of gold dust. I stood on the deck of the cruise ship and watched the sun set in the west, filled with anticipation and nervousness. Carly was wearing a light blue dress, and with the breeze blowing her long hair, she looked as beautiful as a fairy in the lake. We stood side by side, enjoying this rare peace and beauty. Carly, I took a deep breath and finally worked up the courage to speak. We've been through a lot together over this time. Your company has made me feel incredibly happy and at ease, and I think I've fallen deeply in love with you. She turned her head with a gleam of surprise in her eyes. I continued, on this beautiful occasion, I want to ask you a very important question. Will you marry me? Will you walk with me for the rest of your life? When I finished speaking, I took a small, delicate box out of my pocket and opened it. Inside was a sparkling diamond ring. I got down on one knee and held the ring up to her, nervously waiting for her answer. She froze, seemingly not expecting me to propose at this time. But she quickly came back to her senses, tears glistening in her eyes as she smiled and nodded. I do, Kenny. I'll marry you. I was overwhelmed and happy to hear her answer. I gently slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood up and hugged her tightly. Thank you, Carly, I whispered. I will cherish and love you for the rest of my life. She snuggled into my arms and together we watched the sun gradually sink into the lake, enjoying this rare peace and happiness. After the proposal was successful, we started planning our future together. We talked about the details of our wedding, plans for our honeymoon, and our future life as a family. We wanted a cozy little home with a garden, a study, children's laughter, and our laughter. We decided to buy a condo in downtown Chicago for our new home. Together, we picked out furniture, decor, and layout, wanting to create a home that was both comfortable and loving. Whenever I think about the prospect of entering into marriage and starting a new chapter of my life with Carly, I feel an overwhelming sense of anticipation and excitement. As we plan for the future, we also often reminisce about our past experiences together. Those difficult moments have made us appreciate each other's existence and the happy times we have now even more. We know that love needs to be tested and honed in order to be stronger and last longer. As time went by, the date of our wedding drew nearer. We invited our friends and family to witness our happy moment. My heart was filled with gratitude and happiness as I held Carly's hand and walked towards the sacred wedding platform. When we exchanged rings and made our love vows to each other, I knew I had found my true love and future partner. Together, we will face the challenges and difficulties ahead, and together we will create a bright future for ourselves. And it all started with a proposal on that romantic Lake Michigan sunset sail. With the New Year's bells still ringing in our ears and the Chicago night sky lit up with sparkling fireworks, Carly and I stepped into that big New Year's Eve party, hand in hand. It was our first public appearance as husband and wife, and I felt both excited and nervous. The lights were flowing at the gala. I looked at Carly, who was wearing an elegant red dress that complemented my black suit. We looked at each other and smiled, with only each other in our eyes. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of two familiar figures and in Jim. They were standing not far away and had obviously noticed us as well. For a moment, the air seemed to freeze as the four of us met our eyes in the air. I take a deep breath and tighten my grip on Carly's hand. It was our meeting with our former spouses again, but this time, we were presenting a stronger and happier face. I felt the warmth coming from Carly's hand, a source of courage and strength. Kenny, are you okay? Anne's voice breaks the silence. I looked at her and noticed a flash of mixed emotions in her eyes.
Infine, Anne.
In fact, I've never been better. I replied calmly while throwing Carly a fond look. Jim seemed to want to say something, but in the end just opened his mouth and didn't speak. As I looked at them, a wave of inexplicable emotion welled up in my heart. Once upon a time, Anne and I were also a loving couple, but now, we had taken different paths in life. Kenny, we should go say hi to our other friends. Carly reminds me softly, her voice gentle but firm. I nodded, taking her hand and walking towards the crowd. That night, we gathered with many friends for laughter and well wishes. Carly and I always had happy smiles on our faces. We knew that no matter how many difficulties and challenges lay ahead, if we worked together, we would be able to overcome them all. Toward the end of the evening, Carly and I stood in front of the window and watched the fireworks bloom once again. I hugged her tightly, feeling the warmth and softness of her body. "Carly, I love you." I looked at her fondly and said the words that had been hidden in my heart for so long. She smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "I love you too, Kenny." At that moment, we seemed to be in a wonderful dream. The New Year's bells, the sparkling fireworks, the happy smiles. All these became the most precious memories in our love journey. After the party, we walked out of the venue hand in hand. The night breeze was cool, but our hearts were hot as fire. We smiled at each other and took a firm step towards the new year and the future. I know that no matter how many unknowns and challenges await us ahead, as long as we hold hands and move forward, we will be able to create our own happiness and bright future. As for Anne and Jim, they have become part of our past, and we will face each other in life with more maturity and strength. Carly and I have finally moved into our new home, a bright and spacious apartment in the heart of Chicago. Not only is it conveniently located, but it is also surrounded by lush greenery and pleasant surroundings. When we pushed open the door to our home and saw the sunlight coming in through the large windows in the living room flooding the entire room, I knew that this was our home. Carly was busy arranging small decorations she brought from home in her room while I started assembling the new bookshelf we got from IKEA. We chatted as we worked, enjoying this ordinary and cozy happiness. As Christmas approached, we decided to decorate a Christmas tree together. We went to the market and picked out a lush pine tree and brought it home together. Carly took out the decorations she had treasured for many years, including colorful Christmas balls, sparkling stars, and those adorable little Christmas figures. As we decorated the tree, we reminisced about the past, bursting into laughter from time to time. On Christmas Eve, we invited family and friends over for a house party. We all sat around the living room, sharing good food and laughter. As night fell, we lit the colored lights on the Christmas tree, and the whole room was enveloped in warmth. I looked at Carly with a happy smile on her face, and I knew that it was all worth it. On New Year's Day, we counted down with everyone in the plaza and waited for the New Year's bell to ring. When the bell rang, Carly and I hugged each other tightly, and we silently made a new vow in our hearts. No matter what the future holds, we will work hand in hand to create more beautiful memories together. On the first day of the new year, the sunlight poured through the window and Carly and I lay lazily under the covers, enjoying the rare leisure. We talked about our future plans, hoping to travel the world together and see landscapes we've never seen before. As time went on, our bond grew deeper and deeper. We started to plan our future together, not just for traveling, but for work, family, and life. We want to support each other in our careers and grow together. We want to support each other in our lives and face the ups and downs of life together. Carly and I's story hasn't been a smooth one. We've experienced betrayal, pain, and struggle. However, it is these experiences that have made us cherish each other more and understand the preciousness of love. We know that no matter what difficulties and challenges we may encounter in the future, as long as we work together, we will be able to overcome them all. Now, we have traveled a long journey and have finally found our happiness. We look forward to every day ahead and to creating more wonderful memories together. Whenever I think of that once broken me, I feel incredibly blessed and grateful that I met Carly, the person I can spend the rest of my life with. In this new apartment, we started a new life. It was filled with our laughter and cozy times. Whenever night falls, we would cuddle on the sofa and watch TV or chat. Whenever the weekend comes, we go cooking, watch movies, or go to the countryside together. This kind of life makes me feel immensely satisfied and happy. I know that this is the future I want, a future filled with love and happiness. And it's all because I have Carly by my side. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.